Hey, it is springtime. Everybody's graduating, wrapping up one season of life and moving on to another. And we want to talk about milestones and not just general life milestones, but what are some of the milestones that we have as we move past those graduation days and continue learning and growing, and also some of the milestones you might have as a sailor and some of the milestones our awesome clients have hit along the way. So stay tuned for those stories.
Welcome to What Could Go Right, a podcast about living boldly on and off the water. I'm Eric Orton.
I'm Emily Orton. On this podcast, we explore adventure, connection, and stepping into a more intentional life. And we don't just talk about it, we invite you to join us on guided sailing trips around the world.
And if you stick around to the end, you'll hear our sailing update where we share where we're going, when, and which trips still have space. And you'll hear a sailing takeaway from somebody who's already come on a trip with us. In 2014, we bootstrapped a year on a fixer-upper sailboat with our 5 kids. We wrote a book about it called 7 at Sea, and that became a New York Times top 10 travel book.
Let's dive in. Welcome back to What Could Go Right. And we're excited to talk about milestones today. And one of the things that I love about being 52 is that there's still so much to look forward to. I mean, when I was a little kid, I thought, someday I'll graduate high school and then I never have to go to school again. And somewhere along the way, I learned about college and felt like that was a good idea. And that it kind of extended and added more graduations and more milestones. And then we're at a season of life now where our youngest is graduating high school, and we also have now a couple of grandchildren, and their milestones come a little closer together, right? Like can hold up their head, first smile, teeth, eating solids, crawling, standing,
Wow, I don't even register all that stuff. I'm just like, still a baby.
baby in the house, put the candles away,
Get the plants up off the floor.
get the plants up. Yeah, so and those are some milestones, and I think we've had a couple of milestones. We raised our family in New York City, and we had a fire escape. I tried a couple of times to grow a raspberry bush on the fire escape, but it never worked, and you might not know what I'm talking about. But now we are new homeowners, and I feel like we have different milestones, like we finally got our yard flattened, our grass grew, we put in a patio, like we just hosted a sit-down dinner for 18 people in our backyard, and that felt like a major milestone. We have the shade, we have the lights. Anyway, just like to mark the progress that we're making along the way. Are there any milestones that you've been thinking about?
Definitely.
We went a whole month without fighting. Any arguments and upset or tension, that was huge.
Trying to break that streak.
We're gonna break that streak.
It's true. I mean, we wanted to talk about this because we went to prom with our daughter.
So fun.
Lily has Down syndrome, and so Emily put together a fantastic group date where some friends of ours, dear friends of ours from college, have a kind of party bus. It's a converted short school bus that they tricked out with a little bit of a disco light, and they've got bench seats that face each other and seat belts. Anyway, so we did a double date with our friends, and we took our daughter and was it 8 of her special needs class?
Eight including her.
8
Yeah.
in total, and, it was dinner with us and going to prom. So, anyway, we just went to prom, and our neighbor who's going to med school he's got his graduation this weekend, and we just know it's in the air. Milestones are in the air. And so, yeah, I guess we're not graduating from any institutions,
Mm-mm.
and we're not having any special formal dances, but I guess some ways that we are marking it. So we had a lot of hosting this past weekend, and we hosted Lily's prom party. We hosted our friends for this gathering on Sunday afternoon. And yeah, it was kind of nice to be like, hey, it was not a housewarming party, but maybe a backyard warming party, because we've been putting some effort into that. And I think the milestone that we are at is that our youngest is graduating high school. So all of our kids, all 5 of them, will be done with high school, and we don't know what it means, what Lily's future holds with Down syndrome. But even so, she's done with high school, and that's a milestone for us as parents.
Right. Like our last child turned 18 and is graduating.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And so we had a tradition when we were raising our kids in New York that when everybody went back to school, Labor Day weekend, we would go on vacation.
Well, Yeah, when we
We
were
we
homeschooling,
we were
yeah.
homeschooling it, so it was not like we weren't trying to thumb our nose at anybody too much. But we would go to Cape Cod, and it was because all the beaches emptied out, all the prices dropped. It was a great time, and we had that flexibility, and so we would celebrate back to school by going on vacation. And we inevitably did homeschool while we were there, but it was kind of fun to be leaving the city when everyone else was hopping on the school bus or, shouldering their backpacks to go to school. And I think what we're doing now, sorry, did you have something
Yeah,
you wanted
no,
to say
go
about
ahead.
that? I was going to say what we're doing now is Lily graduates and we're going to go spend all summer in Finland. And that's kind of a celebration, of sorts, I think, because, we can. My mother is from there. We're just going to go stay at her apartment. It's a place that she bought for my grandma. And I would spend summers there as a kid. So it's very familiar. And it's also good for us because just logistically, all of our sailing trips this summer are in Europe. That's when it's prime season over there. And so we'll get to save on some airfare and some jet lag and enjoy being in a new place. And so we are celebrating this milestone, I think, by taking this trip,
Yeah,
spending 3-ish months in Finland.
that's a part of it. We had some friends who are maybe 10 or 15 years older than us, and I remember when their kids all graduated and moved out of the house, they said, "I don't know how they still kept track of this, but every year, like back to school night or parent teacher conferences, they go out to dinner and laugh. They're just like, ha 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 ha. We don't have to go to parent teacher conferences anymore. We could just go out and enjoy ourselves." And honestly, a lot of people who come traveling with us are in that position. They're like, "Hey, we've been grinding, we've been focused, we've been attending to our kids and being at the games and and obviously they're still there in touch and for special occasions and emergencies, but they're kind of saying, it's my chance. I feel comfortable. They're fine on their own and I feel comfortable separating, doing some things that I've been curious about and planning some activities around my interests and visions for the future. And I especially love that when people are like, "Ooh, I think I might want this to be part of my future and I want to try it on for size." And you have a few stories. We haven't actually calculated the precise stats on how many people come sailing with us and then go on to certify to charter their own boats or sail with their friends. But maybe you can tell us some of our highlight standout stories.
Yeah, I think anecdotally, it's fun. Now that we've been doing this long enough that we've seen people quote unquote graduate. And graduate can mean a couple of different things. It can mean they graduate in the sense that they come on another trip with us and they do multiple locations and lots of instances of that. It can also mean, hey, I went home and I signed up for a 101 sailing lesson in the lake where I live, in the town where I live.
Or even we have started partnering with Nautic Ed, and on our website, you can sign up for a couple of free sailing classes, and people who are curious are kind of clicking the link. And
Yeah, so sometimes people before they come or after they come sailing, they want to do some online learning, some book knowledge. And so, yeah, we do partner now with Nautic Ed. If you go to our website, theawesomefactory.nyc/Nautic Ed, like nautical, but Nautic Ed, ED, then there's a couple of free courses, and then you can sign up for some of the ones that are both online. And then you can also find a sailing school near you or at a destination where you want to go do some learning.
and we are in a landlocked state that's not famous for its lakes, except maybe the Great Salt Lake, which is shrunk now.
Terrible for
And
sailing.
they have sailing classes here on reservoirs, like even in our state, they're available.
Yeah, you can go up into the mountains and you're below the ski resorts and these lakes learning how to sail. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, even in Utah. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. And then we also have everything from people who have purchased boats or purchased boats and moved aboard without kids, with kids. And so I think just to share a few examples, took a family sailing a couple of years ago in Mexico, and they came home and they signed up for a one-on-one class in a landlocked state on their lake. And just this past spring, I was in the British Virgin Islands coming home from my last trip of the season and was able to stop off and visit them on their boat. I think I delivered a few things. Can you remember what I took to them?
I can't remember what you
It,
took.
it had to do something to do with putting decals off and
Oh,
putting
yeah, yeah,
decals
it
on
was
their boat.
like scrapers for getting the old decals off.
Yeah, because you're renaming your boat oftentimes when you buy it. And so anyway, it was super fun. They picked me up at the dock, the ferry dock, when I was on my way home, and
In their dinghy.
in their dinghy, and I got wet going up to because we were going upwind, of course, to their boat, but had a nice lunch with them. So that was really, really satisfying.
And
Yeah, so got to see their kids and have lunch, and then they dropped me back off, and I went to the airport and flew home. But to see them go from, hey, let's just try this 2 years ago, and they had a couple of other experiences in addition to sailing with us, where they teamed up with other families and sailed and took classes. But now they bought this boat and they've been sailing down the Caribbean chain all spring and all like late winter, early spring, and now they're down in Guadeloupe or something, I think.
and I think I'll link in the show notes the episode where we interviewed them prior to them actually taking the
Oh,
leap and
that's a
buying
great
the
idea.
boat, and we'll also link their social media if you wanna follow their journey 'cause, um, they're not at the cusp. They've moved forward from their original dock, but they're still new in their
Yeah,
journey.
Mary and
It's
Jonathan, and they're sweet.
pretty fun to follow their family.
And then there's Paul, who came on our trip with his wife, and he's a very experienced sailor, owns a little day sailor boat in California. And but he hasn't had a lot of experience on catamarans. And he came out with us. Him and his wife came out, and then he went and did a class, a catamaran specific certification, and just felt super prepared, breezed through it. Was already a very skilled captain or, skipper. And now just felt like, he's just leveled up,
Yeah.
and he's kind of been able to, but along the way, he was able to share with his wife, who was happy to be alone, but less, intense, I'll say, about sailing. And there's Matt.
Well, that's a beautiful milestone. I just wanna mark out, like, that's the
Yeah.
milestone. Like, he had some skills, but this was the milestone of feeling comfortable on a new type of boat and then showing his proficiency and getting a certificate or whatever, credential. And that other win is that it increased the confidence with his wife, and now they can do that together, and it's pretty comfortable, and you can sail on a catamaran.
And then Matt and his wife went sailing the BBI with us last year. And shortly after they sailed with us, they bought a monohull also out in California, and we're fixing it up. And they've been bouncing back and forth between that and then having to do some work with a business or they've been wanting to sell. So they're not necessarily full time on but they bought a boat
Yeah,
and a
that's
lot
a
of,
huge milestone.
yeah, which is a huge milestone. And I'm just kind of jumping through these. And then there's Carissa and Joel, who were sailing with
Oh,
us in
yes.
Mexico. You were there. It was last spring or last fall. Sorry.
And they kinda have that in mind, like, they're actually pretty young, but they were feeling like they wanted this as part of their future, and so they just tested it out with us to see, do we both like it? Do we like sleeping on the boat? Do we like this lifestyle and travel? And they did, so she got certified, right?
Is it?
Oh, no, Joel.
I think it's both of them.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, it's just because, okay, here's what's happening is we do a text thread with every group that goes out. And those text threads live on long after the trip is over because you get to know each other and you connect and bond when you're out as a crew for a week.
Oh, we did that trip last October, and it's still popping.
Yeah. And then I have trips that go back multiple years where people stay in touch. And I'm obviously on all of them. And people are popping in with little life updates. And some of it's sailing related, some of it's not. But anyway, so it's sort of this popcorn thing where, a couple times a week, oh, here's a new thing going on. And people will chime in. Joel and Carissa were just sharing about, their certifications and their plans and saying, hey, once we've got our boat, we want to invite everybody out. And so it's really just fun to see these crews that come together go on. And it's a little, I don't want to say it's like a graduating class of school, but you kind of like,
It's your group.
it's your group.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we have yet to have a reunion, like a 5-year crew reunion.
But there have been, like, some people have met up again later, like, met up in different states, met up in different countries, and met up with each other.
Yeah, multiple
Not
times.
hosted by us, but
Yeah, people will be, hey, I'm driving across country and and they pop in and they visit somebody that was on their sailing crew and they went sailing with us. Or they'll go on a separate vacation together that's not a sailing vacation, but they just hit it off enough.
yeah, they go
Um,
camping.
and and also, I love it when people come out on multiple trips with us because we've had people say, "Hey, we had such a great time. Let's all go together." And I haven't had a full boat come, but multiple people from one trip will book another trip with us and get to enjoy with people that they know in an environment they now know with us, meaning the boat. but then they're also going to meet new people as well.
One of the fun ones was you were out with a group and a guy who had come on a trip with you, who had now graduated and gone on to get his certifications, was also there as the captain of a boat full of his friends, and you guys anchored next to each other, like,
It's true.
full circle, guys. It's so fun.
It was actually the same trip where I saw Mary and Jonathan on the way home. And so to have these multiple groups, because, okay, there was a group of 8 that I took sailing in Greece, and Matt in that group went ahead and got certified. And 6 people from that trip, plus 2 others, were on this trip with him in the BBI. And we actually got together at dinner the night before we were both getting on our boats, and I got to hang out with them. And I sort of gave them my advice because they'd never sailed in the Virgin Islands before, and I gave them all my recommendations. And we just kept in touch. And I think it was the second or third night they were coming to a place, and they hadn't arrived yet. And I was like, hey, well, there's a mooring ball next to us. I like to anchor. A lot of new captains like to catch mooring balls, and like there's an empty one right next to me. And I told them where we were. And they kind of came back into the anchorage and tied up right next to us. And while we were making dinner, I zipped over in the dinghy and said hello to them and visited. And so it's really fun to see people grow and level up after their experience with us, to grow into their own experience, their own proficiencies. And, they were doing great. We actually shared a couple of anchorages and ran into each other on a couple of islands that week. But yeah, it's a little bit of a proud papa moment for me. So yeah, there's people going on to do their own trips, and then some people are like, hey, I actually don't want to certify. I don't want to be a captain at all. It sounds too stressful, but I want to keep sailing. And so they'll come to Mexico, then they'll come to the Bahamas, then they'll come to Italy, or, we've got a long enough list of options that you could sail with us for a long time before you have to repeat.
A trip, yeah.
And repeating is also not,
But you probably love to repeat a trip, and it's different every time,
yeah.
as you know. So, just talking about milestones, especially as we move into midlife and like past all of the pomp and ceremony of a graduation and a certification and like all and now all of my kids have also done those things. It's I just love the people who come out with us who are always people who want to keep growing and keep learning. And even if they say, "Oh, we just wanted to come on one trip with you guys," and that really opened our minds to being more intentional about how we're choosing to spend our time and what we want to do most with our life. And we even had one guy who was like, now I know I really want to focus on digging into my family history and putting like that fired him up. But it was just, I don't know where it might lead, but just the idea that even after the graduations are over, there are still so many beautiful milestones for us to move forward towards. And when we arrive at them, to just stand on top and think about like how cool it is that we're still learning and growing and what we've achieved. And I think we like to talk about this as well. What a beautiful gift that is to your loved ones when they can see you continuing to pursue your interests and growth and living life with zest and intentionality. I love that.
I love the word that we use for a graduation. You go to a commencement. And I love that this culmination of high school or college or whatever it is. Yes, it is a culmination. It is a conclusion, but they call it commencement. It is the beginning. And so I like to think that once somebody has come sailing with us, it's the beginning of a new chapter for them. What does the future hold now that they've had this experience? And yeah, like you say, whether it's, um, something sailing related or not. Because some people honestly have also said, hey, now I want to start my own sailing business like you.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
we've talked about, coaching them through that process
Because we've learned a lot.
we've learned a lot, and we're happy to share. But I just love that that this culmination is called commencement, that it's a beginning. Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s, or 80s, we can always begin something new. We can always be learning and growing. It's as at this season of spring and all these graduations, it's fun to just think about the new chapters that each of you are going into. And we're always grateful to be a part of it.
What could go right?
Hey there, before we wrap up, I want to give you the sailing update. I'm going to tell you what's going on with 2027. And then at the end, I'll give you a few updates on what's happening this year if you want to jump on a trip. Basically, 2027, we're going to go to the BVI in January, or sold out. In March, we're going to be in the Bahamas, Exumas or the Abacos. So stay tuned for that. April, we'll be in Mexico, Sea of Cortez. May, we're going to be in Bora Bora. So if you want to fly to Tahiti, French Polynesia, and sail Bora Bora, we're going to be going there for the first time in a long, long time. So that's going to be a fun trip. June, we're in Italy. July, we're in Greece. August, we're in Croatia. September, we're in Italy. We're going to go to a second trip to Greece in September as well. And then November of 2027, we're back in the British Virgin Islands, and December, we're in the Bahamas again. So that's the lowdown for 2027. If you want to come sailing with us this year, here's what we have. A Croatia boat, August 1 through 8 is sold out. Then in Norway, September 3rd through the 10th is sold out. 10. It's going to be an epic trip. I'm super excited about that one. Italy in September is sold out. Mexico in October is sold out. Bahamas, November 9th through the 14th, we have a cabin for 2 people. And then in December 7th through 12th, British Virgin Islands is sold out. If you want to learn more about any of these trips or get the details, visit theawesomefactory.nyc/sailing. Click to sign up for a time to talk with our team, with me, and we'll get your questions answered and hopefully welcome you aboard.
We can talk about trips all day, but it's more fun to hear from someone who's been aboard. Here's a recent guest takeaway.
I had spent years working on the house and not going anywhere and doing anything. You know, it was always, well, if I don't get this done, then this and this and this and this. And Allison finally said, you never want to go anywhere with me. And I said, if you invite me to go anywhere, I will go with you. And so she invited me to go here with her. That's why I went. One thing that generally happens in our vacations is that Allison is very, very active. And so high activity and no food, and I'm diabetic. And so I worry about that stuff. And you can see some of the weird stuff that was happening, you know, with it here. And so I was right about that, but I can handle it. I just like it when it's easier. Worried about probably goes on to the next thing, and I second your motion. You know, 6, 8, 9 people that you don't know. It could be anything, and I could be like, oh my God.
Get me
or
out
I
here.
could be, oh, this is cool, and it was cool. You guys are all different, and I enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you. And according to your advice, what could go right? What's good about this? What's the cool things about all of these people? And I could go through and name the cool things that I've seen. I have done that a little bit. I think you guys would remember that. That was a surprise, a pleasant surprise.
If somebody you know is thinking about coming out, what would you say?
I would say, why do you want to do that? And then talk to them about it and say, what are you looking for? And then tell him what I saw, and then they could decide. Simple as that.